Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. There must be a lot of long faces round the table today as the results of the Inverness South Council by-election are making their earthquake-strong, shaking foundations very clear to the people within the SNP hierarchy. Because Humza Yousaf and the SNP were utterly thrashed at yet another by-election. And their vote share, of course, collapsed massively. The Nats really have gone into panic mode after the Inverness South by-election. It was, as to say, a thrashing in the Highlands. And one party stalwart warned that time for Humza is fast running out and that the pact with the Greens is now seen as lethal and toxic. And I think we can all appreciate that. I think we all know that anything to do with the Greens is always going to be toxic. They themselves are lining themselves up to, hopefully, as they see it, put themselves up for a coalition with Labour. I don't think Labour will touch them with a barge pole. Even Labour will say, no, thank you, not a chance in hell. You were bad with the SNP. We're not allowing you to poison us or the public's perception of us. But the SNP saw their vote share collapse by nearly 16 percentage points in the Highland Council in a by-election that absolutely spells doom and gloom for the Nats ahead of this year's general election, whenever that shall be. What's weird, and this is what must be very worrying for all parties, but particularly the SNP, is that the winner was an independent candidate by the name of Duncan Cameron MacDonald. And if you can come up with a more Scottish name than that, then good luck. He won the seat with 22.1%. He's an independent. He won it with a massive number of votes. This is ahead, and this is the thing that will kill them, of the Lib Dems. The SNP were third. Now, when the SNP is pushed into third place, you know they're in trouble. Now, it seems that there is nothing that can save this party now. The Tories were in fourth. They got 16.1%, and Labour got 11% and were down into fifth. Now, any resurgent Labour Party is likely to win the Central Belt. Glasgow and Edinburgh, it's almost assumed universally that Labour will take the Central Belt. And so if the SNP are going to survive at all, they have to win outside of the Central Belt. But where have they got? The South is going to probably be still strong Tory. You go into the Highlands, well, you're going to lose all the coastal communities because of the stance on fishing. You're going to lose the North East because of your stance on oil. You're going to lose the islands because of the stance on the ferries. And you're going to lose anywhere that's vaguely remote because the roads are so potholed and bad that no one can go anywhere. What the hell are you going to do? If you are an SNP politician at whatever level, councillor, MP, MSP, doesn't matter, you must be looking at these results now. It's not just a one-off result, of course. It's a whole slew of results. And be thinking, I'm in deep trouble. The party is in deep trouble. None of us are going to have a job. And then you'll start thinking, why is this the case? And all heads will turn, and they will all look at Humza Yousaf, a man who fails so spectacularly on every single level. There's nothing he's done that's worked out right. Everything he's tried to bring in has failed. He had the gender reform bill, for which, of course, the legal advice for that has still yet to be revealed, even though he said he would. But you know that the legal advice was, don't do this, you're likely to lose, which is why it's never been released. And yet he took that to court and he lost. He's tied himself and aligned himself very, very closely with the Greens. And now everyone's saying that that's toxic. But of course, having been so strongly for them, he can't now gainsay himself and say, actually, no, the time is up. They are a problem, and back down, because he's continually said that they're worth their weight in gold and they're brilliant and they're wonderful. How can he back himself down? He knows if he did, he'd be ridiculed. There's another defeat. He's got this stupid hate law that everybody says is stupid and is awful and needs to be repealed. Even voices from within his own party. Nobody respects him. Everybody dislikes him. He's got no personal charm. He's got no leadership capabilities. He's not seen as a winner. He's now more seen as an electoral liability. And the days of having this strong leadership within the SNP where everybody rallied round have long gone. There's open loathing for the man. There's already whispers of replacing him already. Well, I think with results like this, those whispers will grow. They will turn into a chorus of disapproval. And eventually there must come a point where there is a tipping point. The mass has increased to an inflection point within the party where it will be a big call for him to go, say, thank you very much, you're no longer needed. We don't want you because you're disastrous for the party. I mean, personally, the longer he stays there, the better, because it's his leadership that will cause ultimately, I think, the ultimate destruction of the SNP. But who are you going to replace him with? Kate Forbes, of course. It's the only real alternative. But anyway, getting back to this, the Election Maps UK, they did this poll and they were looking at numbers. This obviously was looking at the result rather than a poll, but they were looking at the numbers. And they said, although it's an independent gain from the Lib Dems on paper, said notionally, it was actually an independent gain from the SNP because the Independent and the SNP were the biggest two swings. And so if that was replicated across the whole country, they're saying that this size of swing that they saw in this particular one seat would lead to about 3 SNP MPs at Westminster. No one is suggesting, of course, that will ultimately actually be the case. But it must be, people will be crying into their porridge this morning, let's put it that way. Jeff Emmerdine, who was Alex Salmond's Chief of Staff, if you remember, he said it confirms the downward trajectory for the SNP, and Labour taking a haul in Central Belt is all but priced in, so it's areas like this that the SNP must win, and the people in these areas are rejecting them. The party said needs to focus on more core issues, not frippery, and remind themselves of what got them to government in the first place. Well, of course, they're not looking at the core issues. They don't look at education, at the NHS, at transport, because that's too hard. They know they've failed in all these things. Everything they're supposed to do has been an utter failure. They can't point to any success whatsoever. And that is why they keep beating the big bass drum of independence. They literally have nothing else. Now, Alex Neil, a man who absolutely loathes Humza Yousaf, has come out. He said time is fast running out. He says the pact with the Greens is lethal. It must be disbanded if they're to have any hope whatsoever. But while you've got Humza Yousaf in charge, of course, that won't happen. But it's not just people within the party. Stephen Kerr, the Tory, he's saying that the SNP have been utterly thrashed in another by-election, and it goes to show they can be beaten across Scotland in every place. And he's absolutely right. There is nowhere now that the SNP can say that they are confident of winning. If the Central Belt has gone, and now the Highlands and Islands have gone, where are they going? Nowhere. There is nothing else for them to do. They literally have nothing. And that, of course, is brilliant news. Absolutely stunning, brilliant news. These numpties can sod off, go lick their wounds, look around, point the finger, and what's the betting? Humza is gone very, very quickly. Thanks for listening. Bye.